Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to Sneha Studios. And today we have Shashwat Das joining us today. So he is a documentary filmmaker. He's a photographer. He's very passionate of doing things in a crazy way. Uh, we will hear as to what is he up to. He is also done his passion with respect to riding a solo bicycle. I mean bicycle ride from Delhi to Jaisalmer. Very, I would say very crazy to have you here, Shashwat, on Sneha Studios. Again, friends, this is an episode or the initiative by Sneha Arts. As all of you know, Sneha Arts is an organization which does a lot of events and activities around, and this is an initiative by Dr. Snehalata Prasad, who is an eminent artist, sculptor, and also art collector. So, Shashwat, welcome. So, people who are watching you would love to know you well. Maybe social media में थोड़ा ही कुछ पता चलता है about you, but we want to know your entire journey. uh, how did you where did you grow up? What does Shashwat like? What are his hobbies like? What atmosphere did he live in? So over to you.
Right, right. Hello, everyone. Hi, Ravi. Thank you so much for having me over here. And it's great to be on a live session where I can not just talk about my work, but also just talk about myself in such a nice manner. So, uh, it all, where do I start? It all kind of began. So, both my parents are artists, and more than that, they are crazy travelers. So, travel, photography, and art has been like a it's been like second nature in my life. From like a very young age, I can go back to, if you're talking about traveling, then the first road trip I ever did, I was 11 months old. We did a road trip from Delhi to Bikaner, and at the age of 4, my parents drove me down to Ladakh on road. So
Super.
so that has always been a very important part of my life. And camera and working with the camera has been like a extension of my body, because it was not something that I it is a silver platter that was handed to me because of my parents being involved in it, but it was never like something that I got into as a conscious decision. It was always there. Like, my earliest memories involve a camera, and my latest memories involve a camera. So it has, in some manner, in some form, it has throughout been like a very important part of my life. And yeah, so that's where it began from. And I actually could show you, uh, if I can find it. So this is my first camera ever.
Wow.
It's the first camera I ever used. It's a Kodak ProStar 444. It doesn't work anymore, but yeah, that's some very beautiful shots that I took when I was 4 5 years old in this. So it began from there, and then I kind of, at one point of time, I shifted my entire focus towards something completely different. I wanted to become a lawyer, and I wanted to get into international relations. I wanted to join United Nations and work as a diplomat. I was preparing for law. I joined law school for a year and a half, and then eventually everything was going great. I was scoring well, having fun at moots, but I realized that that was not what my calling was, and I immediately took evasive maneuvers to ensure that I get out of that, get into journalism and mass communication, and yeah, since then I've been working professionally as a documentary filmmaker and a photographer.
Super. So from law, a complete. I mean, out of law, I really like the way you said you wanted to work with United Nations as a diplomat. So how did that come into the picture? Because law is completely, different, and working representing India as a diplomat with respect
Right.
to United Nations is good. ये idea कब आया था?
So I was, ever since like seventh, eighth standard, I've been a very ardent MUN board in back in the school life. So we used to do MUNs as a delegate. Then eventually I got pumped up to like an executive board member. So I was handling and chairing MUNs at one point. So wahan se aaya that wanted to get into diplomacy, and I kind of figured out that a lot of diplomats, they take the legal profession as like a base stone of getting into diplomacy. So they do that, and then they go into international relations. So I thought that was like a very clear paved out way for me to get in there. But I somehow feel that even though I have shifted to photography, I would say that I have gone back to photography and filmmaking from what I wanted to do. The aspect, the core values that I wanted to do, even as a diplomat, kind of still stays true. Through the kind of work that I do, through what I want to show with my lens, with the films that I make, with the images that I capture, with the stories that I do, that still has got more, no, more than just the image. It's what story it tells, how it brings people together, and how it talks about extensively talks about the history, the socio-political scenario of a situation, the culture, the heritage of a particular place. So I think the core values are still there. The medium has completely changed.
Yeah, I could see that in your photographs. That's exactly the reason I pointed out why United Nations, and because it has a correlation to your work. Superb. So yeah,
Right.
how has been the journey being artist family? Your mom and dad are an artist. So how much influence did that have on you? In the meanwhile, we have a lot of people joining in, watching you live,
Oh,
and we have friends. If you have any questions for Shashwat while he is live here, and compliments for him or what you like in him, feel free to put it in the comments. I'll read it out. So yeah, Shashwat. So
yeah.
how was the influence?
Okay. It's been a very, I would say, the true term of an unorthodox family is what I've been brought up in, because but in a very interesting way. My In terms of my work, how I would say that my parents have been a great influence, not in the way that my parents have never taught me. Like, my father has never been like, this is a camera, this is how you shoot in manual, and this is how you shoot. That has never been the case. मुझे कभी भी नहीं सीखने को मिला है from my parents directly. But the biggest advantage and the silver spoon that I say that I have is that they are the biggest critiques of my work.
Hmm.
And all three of us being in the similar field, we consider ourselves to be the biggest critics of us. So if my mom has a new work, my dad has an exhibition coming up, or I have some project coming up, before it goes out to anybody, any expert, any third person, it is first discussed in this triangle which is there inside our home, and it gets improved upon, it gets very critically remarked upon. I can give you one story. I had this exhibition. It was my first exhibition ever. It was called Dastan, Dilli Tere Ishq Mein. It was a show in Stainless Art Gallery, Delhi, and it was a group show on Delhi and the heritage and the culture of Delhi. Now, what I realized at the age of say 18 was that मैं पूरा India shoot कर लिया है. I have not shot anything in Delhi. So I was like, yeah, I need something for that. So for about a week and a half, every day I was going out. I was researching and shooting at the same time. And over the span of 1.5 weeks, I shot somewhere around 10,000 images probably. And in that 10,000 images, my parents literally rejected images till the last day. And on the last day, they found three images that they found were worthy of actually putting. They said, if the images are not up to par, if they don't show a meaning, then there's no point of you putting them up for an exhibition. It's just not that you have the opportunity, so you put it up for an exhibition. The work should be powerful enough that it holds itself in the exhibition. So that's been the impact, the
3 out of
critique.
10,000. Okay, that's a tough screening which you have to go through.
Yeah. So it was just early morning. I would go out in the field. I would shoot till 5 in the afternoon, come back, do my own editing, then sit down with my parents till like 12 in the night. फिर 2 घंटा अगले दिन का रिसर्च करता था, फिर सुबह 5 बजे निकलो. So that was the cycle for a week and a half.
Superb, superb. So, but yeah, we would love to hear more of your journey with respect to documentary filmmaking and photography. So, in the meanwhile, let's see who all have joined in, and who all have some compliments. So, Asit Kumar Patnaik says great. Lakshman is saying good to see you, Shashwat. प्रेम सिंह जी बोल रहे हैं गुड इवनिंग टू शाश्वत एंड टीम स्नेहा आर्ट्स then Indranath Basu is saying, really great to see you live. Thrilled at all your achievements. So, शिबानी सहगल बोल रहे हैं वंडरफुल. रविंद्र शर्मा जी बोल रहे हैं this is in Hindi, so I'll have tough time reading. Give me some time.
Yeah, that's a problem for me as well.
Yeah. So निर्देशक निर्देशः कला से बहुत शाश्वत हो पाने का और कोई इतना शाश्वत yeah, this is tough. Sorry, Ravinder Sharma ji. It's very tough to read this. Yeah, but he's saying Hridayak Abhar. So he's basically complimenting you. So वनित वंदिता दत्ता जी बोल रहे हैं ग्रेट. Mohit Jain is saying impressive. Shruti Verma is joined in. All the best, Shashwat Das. So these are the compliments rolling in. But yeah, more than this, I would love to hear more about
I
what is your take on Shashwat. What is that you like in Shashwat? So those are the compliments I would like to hear. And if you have any questions for him, Pearl Drops is saying very impressive, Shashwat Das. So yeah, a lot of people have not seen, and I have a lot of questions about your journey. About the documentary film. So how did this start? Were you into photography first, or and when was this
Yeah.
documentary thing started?
Okay, so it's actually very. I have always been interested in photographing. Not for me, photography is not something that can be created. It is something that can be captured. So that difference was always been there in the work from very young age. Pehle to it was just a hobby. It was a very serious hobby I wanted to pursue. At some point it turned into ki, oh, okay, I can earn money from this also, and I can, this is something I really want to do. So it turned into a profession. And for the better part of my life, photography has always been still photography. So I've always worked in that facet only. But it all kind of changed in 2019, mid 2019. I had this friend of mine, he's a director,
Hmm.
and he reached out to me and he said that, Shashwat, there is this film that I've been thinking on water conservation for a very long time. It shows a parallel comparison between a very young kid from like a slum area and like a very privileged person from like an urban dweller like we are, and how water is important and how the person saves water despite their socio-economic situation, and how us having all the amenities in the world, we kind of disregard the importance of water. So Boond was the name of the film, and he said that, I said that I've never shot video on my camera ever. So he's like, okay, give me 3 days, you shoot for 3 days. अगर 3 दिन के बाद you feel that कि नहीं करना, then I'll find some other DOP, we'll shoot with them. I'm like, ठीक है. So we started shooting. We ended up shooting for 15 days straight, and then edited for another 5 days. And we ended up submitting that film. It got selected for a London Film Festival, and it was the first film ever. So it was Lift Off is the name of the festival that it got selected for, and it was a huge. It was like a very positive. More than the achievement, was positive reinforcement that, okay, this aspect of things can also be discovered and worked upon. And from there, there was a very turning point when it came to documentary filmmaking. uh, CA&RC movement began in all over India, and 15th December, the Jamia incident happened, and I was with a friend of mine, and we just went into the dark and we started shooting what was happening in Jamia, the atrocities that was happening. And वहाँ से I started getting involved into the CNRC, getting involved in the socio-political atmosphere, the socio-political situation of our country. And I have this friend of mine who is also a fellow colleague of mine now, Svetlana. We both and another friend of ours, we've recently started our own news agency as well. It's called The Grit News. I'll talk to you about that. That's a different journey altogether. But so Svetlana is a working journalist, and she came up to me one fine day in between this, and she's like, "Do you want to shoot a documentary film together?" And I was like, "Huh, absolutely." So we started working from there, and now we're working on a feature-length documentary on CNRC. And from there, I started picking up jobs with news agencies. So I worked with Turkish Radio Television, Deutsche Welle, I worked with Scroll India, China Daily. So smaller feature projects. And that kind of got me into filmmaking very seriously. And since 2019, mid 2019, I've started developing my portfolio and my work as not just a documentary photographer, but as a documentary filmmaker. And I personally feel that both of these lived in their own independent spaces. I have certain photography projects of mine that are running for the past 3 years. So I've been working on them for 3 years, over 3 years now. And there are some documentary film projects that I've been working for now almost 2 years. So they're in their own independent spaces, but they very much complement each other in terms of the work.
Super. So, any crazy situations where like a curfew or some danga fasad ho raha hai, and you're continuing with your work, you're in there, matlab on the site, there's a lot of violence or whatever. Well, it can be a good situation, a bad situation, but you're continuing with your work without getting distracted by what's happening around you, but you're focusing on what you need to capture. So, as a situations have you come across?
you know, I mean, I don't know. So in the journalism and the documentary field, it's right now it's said that this is simultaneously the best time and the worst time to be a documentary filmmaker. Because best time because you have got so much that you can shoot and so much that you can cover. And worst time is because you are most definitely going to get in the middle of a lot of stuff while doing it. So, and the same happened with us. We were shooting CNRC very actively, and I was almost not at home for 4 months because we were completely working on the documentary. So we would sleep at Shaheen Bagh, we would sleep in Nizamuddin, हम किसी के घर पे आके सो जाते थे because we're shooting, editing, everything is happening simultaneously. And in the middle of it, 23rd February onwards, the Delhi riots happened in Northeast Delhi, the Delhi pogrom. And we were unlucky enough or lucky enough, I don't know, I should not put it that way, but we got stuck in the middle of all of it. We got cordoned off, and the riots began, and everything was happening around us. As a 21-year-old, I've seen enough death that I should not be seeing. And it was a very violent situation. We were stuck inside for 1 night, and we got out the next day. But that has had its repercussions. Simultaneously, we've also had very beautiful memories shooting. We have met people. So, like we are also working on a feature length documentary on the farmers' protest, and 26th September last year was the Bharat Bandh, first Bharat Bandh. So we went to this very small village in Haryana called Lakhan Majra, and it's near Rohtak. And we were over there, we were shooting over there, and we came across some amazing women farmers from Haryana whom we just stumbled across them. We started shooting with them. They were so nice, and you actually understand that as much as our patriarchal society dominates and shows a male figure as a farmer, it is actually the women in rural areas who are handling the fields, that are handling the household as well. So it was a very eye opening and a very wholesome experience to just sit down and talk to them about what real problems they are facing as farmers and as people who will be affected by the present political scenario.
Super. So, moving out of documentary. So, what
Yeah,
what made you do this crazy stunt of going on a solo cycling? From
yeah,
Delhi to Jaisalmer. मतलब यहाँ पे टू व्हीलर में जाते समय हमें फटती है हमारी यहाँ पे with the traffic we have in the cities.
yeah,
On a a small bag, मतलब when I saw this particular picture मेरे बचपन याद आ गई वहाँ पे स्कूल notebooks लगाते थे स्कूल बुक्स लगाते थे ट्यूशन जाने के लिए. You have this small bag and you're riding a cycle from Delhi to Jaisalmer. So how was the experience? What made you get into this crazy idea?
Okay, so okay. So I during the lockdown, I actually got into cycling थोड़ा extensively. Like a lot of people, सबको ऐसे craze चला कि हाँ cycling करेंगे. हम भी उसमें गए कि हम cycling करेंगे. So I got a new cycle during that time, the one that I actually wrote down, and I started doing 70 kilometer, 50 kilometer, 100 kilometer runs around Delhi only. So there were tracks, and I was doing all that. So I was like, ठीक है, सही है, it's fine. But always this one thing kept bugging me was that कि घूम के ना वापस घर ही आना होता है. When you go on a track, you have to come back home, and your entire journey of traveling 100 kilometers becomes futile when you end up in your starting point, because everything comes in circle. So I thought that at the back of my head, I wanted to, cycle to some other place. I wanted to cycle out of Delhi. And as a traveler, I've traveling has been a very like photography by work and travel. They are like two sides of the same coin for me. They go both go hand in hand. So I extensively travel solo. I did a 2 month backpacking across Kazakhstan, Russia, and Turkey. I was on the road for 2 months for that. So traveling has always been a very, very important part of my life. Both because how I was brought up in my family. We used to travel. Delhi से we've driven down cars directly to Arunachal and Bengal पहुंच गए गाड़ी से, travel everywhere on road. So again, the fact of being on road was very important. I don't like traveling in flights or trains and all. So वो था. But then there's this always thing that kept on bugging me was that when you're traveling in say a bus, so you would take a bus say to Jaipur. तो आप जयपुर दिल्ली से बस पकड़ोगे रात की, सुबह आप जयपुर पहुंच जाओगे, आराम से आप पहुंच गए. बट उस बीच में दोनों सिटीज के बीच में देयर आर सो मेनी पीपल, देयर आर सो मेनी अमेजिंग memories, people, conversations that you can have, and you miss out on all of that. So when you're on a cycle, you're riding down at 15, 10 kilometers an hour, you are covering 20 kilometers in an hour, in 2 hours. दिन में आप 50 से 100 किलोमीटर कर रहे हो, and you're stopping in the most bizarre places that you will never stop otherwise, and you're meeting the most amazing people doing that. So that is where it started. And I was initially supposed to go only till Pushkar. तो मेरा प्लान था कि 500 किलोमीटर करेंगे पुष्कर तक. तो पुष्कर पहुंच के लगा कि नहीं, अभी मन नहीं कर रहा घर जाने का. So then I did till Jodhpur, and then Jodhpur से I took a train till Jaisalmer because the road wasn't favorable enough to cycle during the summer season. And then from Jaisalmer I cycled down to Tanaut, which is the India-Pakistan border. So I cycled down till the border. So it was like a complete 900-kilometer tour that happened.
Super. So, for friends who've not connected with Shashwat, or this is the first time you're seeing Shashwat, so let me play a quick video about Shashwat's journey, his cycling stunt, and also his work. So, here is a quick video. Wow. Awesome captures.
Thank you.
So we have some more compliments coming in. Sipra Sarkar is saying very nice.
That's actually my grandmother.
Oh, wow. Raji. Tuku Bose, we are proud of you, Shashwat. It's superb. Then Ravinder Sharma ji, thanks a lot, Ravinder Sharma ji, for the compliments in English. Heartiest thanks, dear Shashwat ji, and dear Ravi Shankar ji, for these charging moments. Thanks a lot, sir. Uh, Shakshi Prabhakar, great going Shashwat. The best learning of life is through travel, meeting people, exploring cultures and food, and you love all of it. So, with a big smile, this is the compliment from Shakshi ji. And Mohit Jain is saying super shots. प्रेम सिंह जी बोल रहे हैं incredible diversity of art, culture, and history. So yeah, so we would love to know about cycling. I mean that was the last discussion. So कैसा लगा? Any challenges you faced? How were you equipped with the tools to self repair your own stuff? And मतलब बीच में
हाँ,
पंचर वंचर ऐसे these are the first things come into the thought. How did
yeah, yeah,
you do all
yeah.
that?
It's actually, I don't think my site kit is here, but it's actually a very, it's not that difficult. I would be very honest. Like, I'm not the most athletic person by a long shot. Uh, it's mostly to do with your mental frame. If you have the right mental space, because you know that you are riding on a highway all alone. You've got say 70 kilometers to go, and there's a strong headwind coming your way, and you're riding against the headwind at a your average has dropped down to say 6 kilometers an hour, and आपको 70 किलोमीटर जाने के लिए अभी 10 घंटा साइकिल चलाना है.
So,
तो उस टाइम पे all you have to do is keep yourself positive and optimistic from within that yeah I have to go तो मैं पहुंच जाऊंगा. So that's the main challenge that comes is there's a lose of people lose morale. So did I. I mean I'm not kind of immune to that. So मेरा भी हो गया था एक दो जगह पे I was like I can't cycle anymore.
hmm.
But then some places just the situation pops up in such a way that you end up doing things that you don't think was possible. Like for me, the longest that I had ever ridden was 105, 106 kilometers. But I ended up doing Pushkar to Jodhpur on a single stretch, 205 kilometers I cycled at a single go. 16, 17 hours I was on the saddle. So you just end up it's all about what mental space you are in, and baki everything just conforms itself to that. And as far as equipment and all is gone, it's very easy. So I had my patch kit and everything with me, so I could change like a patch on my tube and वो रास्ते में कभी भी कर सकता था. I had spare tubes, I had my camera equipment, I had my clothes तो था ही नहीं. I was wearing my cycling outfit and I had like one kurta and one these harem pants that I had. So that's all that I was carrying in terms of clothes. Nothing
Very
else.
lean, except
And
for your camera accessories. I think rest of the things are like the most
yeah. So
minimalistic travel.
my total weight that I was carrying with me was not more than like 7 8 kgs. So that was all that I had on me, and that's more than what you need. I could probably do away with a few stuff from that also.
Superb. Any locations where you felt okay, this is worth stopping and capturing the moment?
Oh, so there is this. There are two places. One that I could capture, one that I could not capture. So one was I was cycling down this Nalisar Lake, which is near Sambar, and एक बड़ा सा lake है. उसके बीच से the highway goes from in the middle of the lake, and it's a seasonal lake. So summers में it's all dried up. थोड़ा सा patch में पानी था. So I'm cycling down the lane, and I see on my right, एकदम horizon पे, the horizon has turned pink. Okay,
Okay.
तो आई एम लाइक ये क्या है, ये पिंक कैसे हो गया. दैट वाज वेरी फार ऑफ. तो मैं मुझे पहले लगा कि बिकॉज ऑफ द हीट आई एम जस्ट लाइक आई हैव गॉन क्रेजी एंड आई एम जस्ट इमेजिनिंग थिंग्स. सो आई लाइक चलो देख लेते हैं. सो आई गॉट डाउन ऑन टू द लेक. मैं लेक पे उतर गया एंड आई एम साइक्लिंग ऑन द लेक ऑन द ड्राई लेक. आई रीच and after a while I see a flock of almost 1500 flamingos in front of me,
Wow.
just in the middle of nowhere, just chilling in पानी में आराम से chill कर रहे. 1500 flamingos at least. And at that time I was just carrying a 50 mm on my Canon का camera because I couldn't carry more equipment with me. So उसी में करके कुछ भी नहीं आया उस टाइम पे. I on my return journey, this is another crazy story. My I reached Jaisalmer. I called up my parents and they're like कि अरे यार तुम you're roaming around Jaisalmer, you must be having so much fun. तो मैंने ऐसे मजाक में अपने घर वालों को बोल दिया कि हाँ आ जाओ आप लोग, मतलब क्या है
Hmm.
आ जाओ. आधे घंटे बाद मैं पेरेंट्स का कॉल, हाँ हम लोग रात को 12 बजे गाड़ी लेके आ रहे हैं, सुबह दोपहर तक पहुंच जाएंगे
Oh.
जैसलमेर. So that, as I said, that's exactly how my parents are. So वो अगले दिन, so while coming back, we stopped again in Sambar. This time we had all our equipment with us, so I could shoot the flamingos. So that was one. Second one, which I could not capture, was I was cycling from Tanaut to Longewala, which is right on the border of India Pakistan and at the core of the Thar Desert. And I'm cycling on this beautiful road. दोनों तरफ there are sand dunes which are at least 1 or 2 story tall. दोनों तरफ on the road and बीच से रास्ता जा रहा है. And I'm cycling down and on my left I see dunes के ऊपर से a pack of almost 15 black bucks just came down to the road and they're running along with me. And मेरे GoPro was not mounted, so I just stopped my cycle and I took out my phone. कैमरा निकालने का तो टाइम था नहीं कि मैं कुछ तो खींचूं. And before I could, वो लोग चढ़ के दूसरे ड्यून के पीछे से they went back.
So you missed it.
I missed it, but I captured it right over here. So that thing is gonna stay forever. So it's just been a very amazing journey because I stopped at this very small village called Sali.
Hmm.
एकदम अननोन विलेज है, वहाँ कोई इंसान इंसान नहीं जाता है. एंड वहाँ पे आई वाज जस्ट ड्रिंकिंग ओनली ग्रोसरी स्टोर. आई एम ड्रिंकिंग मिरिंडा क्योंकि बहुत गर्मी हो रही है. एंड ऑन माई लेफ्ट आई सी दिस ग्रुप ऑफ ओल्ड अंकल्स, पूरा व्हाइट आउटफिट, रेड पगड़ी पहन के चौसा खेल रहे बैठ के.
Okay.
जो महाभारत वाला चौसा, नाउ वी कंसीडर एक्सटिंक्ट बोर्ड गेम. हम लोग को म्यूजियम्स में दिखता है कि चौसा का बोर्ड वहां पे लगा रहता है एंड वो गोटियां होती है. वो वहां पे रोज शाम को बैठ के दे प्ले चौसा. तो उनके गोटियां है एंड लाइक सी शेल्स वो फेंक के दे प्ले
Hmm.
चौसा. आई सैट डाउन विद देम फॉर लाइक अ गुड 3 hours, रिकॉर्डेड देम प्लेइंग चौसा, खेला एक दो राउंड, मैं भी खेला चौसा. तो experiences like these is what makes me go for this. And this tour was just a practice tour for me. This was for to get to know that whether I'm able enough to do long road, long term bicycle touring. So up jo plan hai, which is the main, it's the big plan, the big apple, is that sometime in September I'm still looking for sponsors because that's the tour will require sponsors for. I'm planning on doing what we known as the Bharat Mala tour, which is basically I'll be cycling across the entire periphery of India. It will be an 8,500 kilometer tour spanning over,
Seriously,
yeah,
on a cycle.
on a cycle. Me and a friend of mine. So we both will be doing that. So I'm actually going to meet him sometime tomorrow, and we're going to start discussing the finances and how we're going to figure it out and our sponsorship and everything. And we both are filmmakers, so I'm sure we'll figure something out.
Captures.
But yeah, that's the plan now.
Super. Make sure you have a company which is sponsoring the entire GoPro sequence so that you don't miss out on those shots. Just may you have to get down, try to capture that particular moment by the time it's gone. So ensure that you're recording the entire
Yeah, yeah. I'll be
degree
having
of.
like multiple GoPros on me. I'll have like we'll be carrying drones and we'll be carrying an entire camera equipment. So that's the full set that we're gonna shoot it in like a proper way because we'll be on the road for 4.5 months. We'll start from Delhi, we'll go down Rajasthan, Gujarat, the Konkan coastal down to Kanyakumari, up Odisha, Bengal, northeast, करके फिर बिहार झारखंड होके back to Delhi.
Superb, superb. All the very best for that. Sounds very exciting. Is journey mein, did you have any of the like how was the reaction from like gaon wale milte hain and all that? How was the reaction? Cycle pe aaya hai? Matlab, such reactions where they're like shocked, astonished, and gave you crazy looks. So what were the best reactions
सब
you got during the journey?
सब सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग था कि बिकॉज दे कांट फैथम दैट समबडी साइक्लिंग डाउन फ्रॉम दिल्ली ना. तो साइकिल देख के उनका रिएक्शन था, अच्छा भैया आप कौन से गांव से आ रहे हो. तो उनको लगा कि आसपास के किसी 15 किलोमीटर 20 किलोमीटर दूर के गांव से आ रहे हो. तो हम बोलते हैं हम भैया दिल्ली के गांव से आ रहे हैं. कहाँ दिल्ली से आ रहे हो. कहाँ दिल्ली से? इस साइकिल पे 500 किलोमीटर, 600 किलोमीटर. मैं हाँ भैया इसी पर आप आ रहे हो. So I'm a heavy person, right? So they said, "आप 600 किलोमीटर साइकिल चला के आए?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, pretty much." So yeah, but I would say very, very, मतलब हम लोग का we do have a very a perception that anything can happen on the road. You're on the road. What kind of people will you meet? 95% of the people on the road are always welcoming. मैं किसी ढाबे पे रुकता था, बिफोर आई कुड इवन से वो साइकिल देख के खुद ही पानी लेके आ जाते थे कि भैया पहले पानी पियो. फिर कोई गन्ने का जूस ऐसे ही पिला दिया. आई मेरा टायर पंचर हो गया था. आई वेंट टू द स्टोर. उन्होंने मेरा टायर पंचर ठीक करके ही रिफ्यूज टू टेक मनी फ्रॉम मी. ही इज लाइक भैया आप इतने दूर से आ रहे हो, हम इतना तो कर ही सकते हैं आपके लिए. So there are always people, miscreants that you need to stay wary of. But in general, if you're touring, you should always have a very open heart and a very open mind towards meeting amazing people. And you will have an amazing tour.
True. I completely agree with you. I got free accommodation in Himachal for helping somebody jumpstart their car. So 2 nights of stay was given. I didn't know that they run the accommodation there, and that was a thing. So yeah, be nice to people, and you will have miracles coming in. So
Absolutely.
Kumar Vikas Saxena ji, congratulations, बोल रहे हैं. So and we have Shovin Bhattacharya. So he's having 4 hearts for you.
Thank you.
So his documentary journey, ma'am, where do you want to take it forward, and what's your mission in life? What's your dream that you want to accomplish? What do you want to get recognized for?
uh, I would not say that I have a single dream right now that, this is what I want to do or this is where I want to get. But the core of it remains very simple. It is that as of right now, whatever my idea of documenting something is two faceted. It is one, preservation, and two, it is storytelling. So from the preservation perspective, like abhi I've applied for a National Geographic grant, and the grant is on preservation of Majuli Island, which is in the next 20 years the entire island and the entire culture and the ecosystem around it will disappear. So preserving that, and secondly, it is storytelling. It is finding, and this is something that comes from my father, very exclusively, because my father, he is a travel fine art photographer, and he's always shown this emphasis on how much power a story has, and how an image is not just light captured in time, because that's like the technical definition of a photograph, but it is so much more than that. That every aspect and every corner, every square inch of that image, every pixel of that image has a story to say. And if you present it in the right way, then you can very wholesomely acquire that story and keep that story in for generations to come. And I think that is very fascinating, and how we can use these stories and we can use these preservation to initiate a sense of conservation. So I really want to work towards human wildlife conflict. I want to work in that aspect. I want to work in preservation of the environment. That is something that I'm very much proactively working towards, both as a filmmaker, as somebody who's environmentally conscious, who tries to be environmentally conscious. And I think that if we can use whatever medium we have to push conservation, to push preservation, whether that is you as an artist, say, donating your work towards a particular cause and that the money is being used, or me as a filmmaker who's directly going and shooting that thing and using that as a catalyst to ensuring that conservation and preservation happen, the core values of it should be achieved, and that's what I plan on doing for the rest of my life.
Super. All the very best, Shashwat. So we have issues, social issues with respect to in India and in other countries also. So I've seen a couple of pictures that you've captured in other countries. So what were the social issues which really touched your heart when you were abroad or when you're traveling abroad?
Oh yeah. So Russia was a very eye-opening experience for me. So I have this friend and a fellow curator friend of mine, Akshat Sinha. Coincidentally, I met him today itself, like for lunch, and he's an amazing person. And he got me this. He was curating one of my shows, and From there, he got me in touch with the Russian embassy, and I ended up working on a project with the Russian embassy in Russia. So in Moscow, I was going across. There's this golden circle in Moscow, which is a set of 20 cities with the oldest Orthodox churches in Russia. And my work as an Indian photographer back then was to go and cover all of that. So I was doing that for a good half a month or a month or so. And during that, I saw we have a very weird perception about Russia, that that it's like a stone cold country where
Mhm.
people are just too reserved to themselves, or just drinking vodka. I think like neither of that is holds true. And I met some very amazing people who couldn't speak the language, but they conveyed the emotion in such a beautiful way that we connected instantly. And there's this one picture that really captures the essence of Russia, both from the perspective of how we perceive it and how it actually is. I found this in this बोलब बोलबस्केप्सकी बोल के एक जगह है वहां पे. एंड वहां नहीं, सेर्जियो प्रसाद बोल के एक जगह है. वहां पे आई वेंट इनटू द public park, okay, and I was roaming around the public park, and I suddenly see a military grade Russian Soviet tank in the middle of a public park, and 5-year-old kids
Mhm.
playing on top of the Soviet tank. And वो ऐसे turret के ऊपर चढ़े हुए हैं, and they're behind the machine gun. And so I got this shot where this one kid is on top of the turret and this one kid is behind the machine gun, and the kid is jumping off the tank. And that for me encompasses what we perceive, that that it's like a stone cold country. And on the other hand, how it actually is, that they use whatever resources they have to create the warmth in their own surroundings. So that has been a very very eye-opening experience. And I thank Akshat for that. And after that, I ended up backpacking. So I did not take a train directly from Moscow to St. Petersburg, as a lot of people do. I went from town to town. So I would go
Mhm.
smaller towns to reach St. Petersburg. And in that way, I met these amazing people, Alex and Ali and Christopher, and they randomly invited me to go on like a 600-kilometer road trip with them to see this beautiful church, which is in the middle of nowhere. And I had just met them for one day, and I ended up hitchhiking with them over there. And then I went to St. Petersburg. I met amazing people. I had a talk over there on the art of seeing in photography. And I had an exhibition in St. Petersburg, and one of the biggest honors that I or anyone as an artist could receive. They have this yearly awards known as the Master Awards,
Mhm.
and I was my curator in St. Petersburg, without informing me, submitted my work for as a nomination for that, and I ended up winning the award as a master photographer for the year 2019 2020. And everybody else who won the award with me were like 50, 60-year old. And I was like a 20-year-old kid over there who won the award. And the biggest honor was that I got the award from the hands of the present director of the Hermitage Museum, which in the East is the biggest museum that has the most expansive collection of art and heritage. So getting an award from him was a mind-boggling experience and just extremely humbling.
Superb. So, any hatke things apart from this? Any other crazy things Shashwat does which we are not aware of?
मैं तो हम यही बोले कि I do I it it's just like, I think so in traveling only I end up doing a lot of things, and my family specifically pushes us to do things that people don't normally do. Like we went to this national park known as Nameri National Park, which is in Assam. Now, not a lot of people know about that national park, but that's one of the only national parks in the world where you walk inside the national park.
Oh,
So you have a gunman with you, and you don't have a jeep, you don't have a car, कुछ नहीं है, and you're walking इतना पतला सा रास्ता, दोनों तरफ से there's 11-foot elephant grass, and you're walking down, and आपके side से a herd of rhinos are walking. Either there are tigers over there, there are elephants over there,
wow.
and the gunman will just fire in the air to scare first, and other than it's just you and completely in the wilderness. So I think so small incidents like these have just, the crazy has now become the normal. So Yeah.
So we have some more comments coming in. Surabhi Vashisht is saying congratulations. And then Gauri Vashisht is saying congrats, proud of you. So, yeah, thank you, Shashwat. Thanks a lot for joining on this particular show. Any message for the audience you want to give with respect to your upcoming project, or for them to follow your work? You can please do so.
I would just say you can find me on Instagram. You can search Shashwat Das. You'll find me over there. And please do look out for my work. And I hope that the work that I make now, the work that I've already made, and the work that I make in the future has just a little impact on you. That's all I ask for.
Super. Thanks a lot, Shashwat, for joining us on the show. And I would like to also thank Sneha Arts for giving this opportunity to us where I could meet eminent and crazy people like you and get them on the show. And thanks a lot, friends who are joining in, and, all the friends of Shashwat who have, encouraging him to do all this, stuff in his life. And all the best, Shashwat. We want to keep watching your work. And yeah, do cover these. Social issues which are really disturbing the world. So thanks a lot. Have a great evening, friends.
Thank, thank you so much, Ravi.